Two leaders, two nations, two radically different visions for economic survival.
So when I put tariffs on Canada, they're paying 25%, but that could go up in terms of cars.
Together, we will build one Canadian economy, connected by major projects, powered by Canadian energy, transformed by Canadian technology, and crafted by Canadian workers.
In Washington, President Donald Trump dominates headlines with aggressive, tariff-driven diplomacy, securing massive trade deals designed for immediate impact. He plays a game of high-stakes international poker, aimed for flashy, short-term victories. Meanwhile, in Ottawa, Prime Minister Mark Carney's focus is resolutely domestic and long-term. He speaks not of tariffs, but of infrastructure, pipelines, ports, and grids. It's a quiet, methodical strategy to build a resilient nation from the ground up. One leader bets on offense, the other on defense. Who placed the smarter wager on the future of the global economy? To really get what's happening, you have to understand President Trump's core belief about trade. He sees it not as a friendly partnership, but as a brutal winner-take-all fight. For him, it's a zero-sum game. For every country that wins, another one has to lose. And his whole argument is that for decades, America has been the one losing, getting ripped off by unfair deals that shipped jobs overseas. This powerful belief that America is a victim is the rocket fuel for his aggressive America First strategy. It's the justification for tearing up old agreements and using America's single biggest weapon, its massive $28 trillion consumer market. The message to the rest of the world couldn't be clearer. If you want to sell your stuff to us, you're going to have to play by a new set of rules. When you look closely, you can see Trump's method is a remarkably consistent playbook, designed to create crisis and force a deal. It's a high-pressure strategy that unfolds in a few predictable stages. It all starts with a shock-and-awe threat of crippling tariffs. Before the US-EU deal, for instance, the administration threatened a massive 30% tax on European goods. A similar 25% tariff was dangled over Japanese cars. These aren't idle threats. They're designed to spark panic and make the current situation so painful that other countries feel they have no choice but to come to the table. Once he has their full attention, the next phase kicks in, the negotiation. The final deal always lands with a tariff that's lower than the initial threat. But, and this is the key part, it's still significantly higher than it was before. In the EU deal, the final baseline tariff was set at 15% on critical goods like cars and pharmaceuticals, a huge jump from the old average of about 4.8%. This lets Trump claim he won a concession while still fundamentally tilting the terms of trade in America's favor. The exact same pattern played out with Japan, where a new 15% tariff on autos was locked in. Now the final move is to secure enormous headline-grabbing commitments. The EU deal came with a jaw-dropping $825 billion pledge for U.S. energy purchases by 2028, and another $660 billion commitment for new investment in the U.S. Japan followed suit, committing $550 billion toward American projects. These are the giant, flashy numbers that provide the political payoff, the concrete wins that dominate the news cycle. Here's the other side of the coin. While the deals make for great television, a wide range of economists agree that this strategy comes with a steep price tag, and it's being paid by American businesses and families. These tariffs are a direct tax, and they're hitting home. One major study suggests that factory costs could climb by 2% to 4.5%. A manufacturing executive in Michigan even pointed out that while he doesn't use foreign steel, the 50% tariff on imports gave U.S. steel companies the cover to raise their own prices by 5% to 10%. And where do those costs go? Straight to you. A survey of businesses indicated that companies plan to pass about half of their new tariff costs directly to consumers. According to one university study, that could end up slashing the average family's disposable income by as much as $2,400 a year. That's a serious hit to your wallet, and it creates the kind of inflationary pressure that gives the Federal Reserve nightmares. So the big question is, can this all actually last? Many of these deals aren't ironclad treaties, they're political frameworks and joint statements. The details are often left fuzzy, creating a fog of uncertainty for businesses trying to plan for the future. The whole strategy is built on the president's executive power, which is already being challenged in court. The entire thing could, in theory, fall apart with a single court ruling. This aggressive approach also puts America's allies in a terrible spot. It's like a prisoner's dilemma. It's smarter for any one country to cut its own deal with Washington than to risk getting hit with massive tariffs. But every time a country does that, it just reinforces Trump's strategy and weakens old alliances, leaving them fragmented and strained. Now let's flip the script and look north. A totally different game is being played in Canada. In direct contrast to Trump's strategy, Prime Minister Mark Carney's approach is defensive and inward-looking. It's a long-term, painstaking project to fortify the Canadian economy against the chaos. This isn't about shutting Canada off from the world. It's about building economic sovereignty, the raw ability to control its own destiny without being held hostage by an unpredictable partner. This entire philosophy is born from a chilling new reality. Canada's deep economic tie to the US, once its greatest asset, is now seen as its greatest liability. The USMCA trade deal, which replaced NAFTA, has a sunset clause that demands it to be periodically reviewed and renewed. Many in Canada see this as a ticking time bomb, an American veto pen that can be used to hold their entire economy hostage. Carney's vision is being translated into a massive, ambitious agenda designed to strengthen the country from the inside out. So, get this. The first move is the One Canadian Economy Act. You'd think this is about foreign trade, but it's not. It's legislation designed to tear down trade barriers between Canadian provinces. Believe it or not, for years, these internal hurdles have slowed down Canada's own economy. By creating a seamless national market, the goal is to boost east-west trade within Canada, making the country far less dependent on north-south trade with the US. But they're not stopping there. The government is also pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into infrastructure, public transit, green energy, and most critically, new trade and transportation corridors. This isn't just about patching up roads. This is a strategic play to physically connect Canada's vast regions and build new gateways to global markets that don't pass through the United States. The plan extends to national defense. Carney has announced a historic boost in military spending, aiming to hit the 2% of GDP NATO target half a decade ahead of schedule. We're talking about new jets, new vehicles, and better surveillance in the increasingly tense Arctic. The message is unmistakable. Canada intends to secure its own sovereignty, vowing its defense will never become dependent on others again. And for the knockout punch, this internal buildup is being paired with a huge push outward. Canada is actively pursuing a new EU-Canada strategic partnership that goes beyond just trade into security and defense. It's using the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership to deepen its ties with Asia, a trading relationship that hit $130 billion in 2023. And it's racing close to a deal with the South American Mercosur bloc. Every new partner is another escape route, another way to hedge its bets against a volatile relationship with the US. Now, it's not all smooth sailing. A plan this huge has its own set of serious challenges. The most obvious one is money. Can Canada actually afford this massive spending spree on defense and infrastructure, especially with economic headwinds? And beyond that, can the government even get it done? A previous infrastructure plan from 2015 was famous for its delays, with less than $110 billion of a nearly $188 billion fund ever actually being spent. This time, the government's need for speed is running into its own problems, with groups like the Assembly of First Nations saying the main legislation was ran through without consultation. So when you put these two strategies side by side, the differences are just stunning. What we're witnessing are two fundamentally opposing answers to the same global instability. Trump is playing offense. Carney is playing defense. Trump is focused on the short-term, spectacular win. Carney is playing the long, grueling game. The real flashpoint for all of this is the upcoming 2026 review of the USMCA. This trade pact governs over $1.8 trillion in annual commerce and is the absolute bedrock of the North American economy. For the Trump administration, that 2026 review is a moment of maximum leverage, another opportunity to put the screws to its neighbors and demand more. But for the Carney government, it's the moment of maximum danger. It's the very reason this whole sovereignty project exists, to build a Canada that's strong enough to survive the economic earthquake if the USMCA is ever seriously threatened. At the end of the day, it's a clash of political timelines. The logic of the mega deal is perfect for the 24-hour news cycle. A flashy announcement of $1 billion deal is powerful and easy for people to grasp. The costs, like a slow drain on the economy or fraying alliances, are abstract and unfold over years, making them less politically potent. Trump's strategy is built to win the next news cycle, the next election. The political logic of infrastructure, on the other hand, is incredibly risky. The benefits of Carney's agenda, higher productivity, a more resilient nation, are abstract and will take a generation to be fully realized. The costs, however, are immediate and concrete. Higher taxes or spending cuts, the noisy disruption of construction, and political battles over what gets built. Carney is making a profound wager that in this unstable era, his people have the patience for short-term pain in exchange for the promise of long-term strength. His strategy is built to position Canada to survive the next 30 years. One is a sprint, the other is a marathon. What we're left with are two leaders, a deal-maker and a nation-builder, on two completely different paths. One is playing a fast, aggressive game of global poker, using a powerful hand to try and change the rules of the game. The other is playing a slow, methodical game of Jenga, painstakingly reinforcing his own tower, hoping it will be standing when the table is inevitably shaken. Their clashing actions paint a vivid picture of the choices nations face in this turbulent century, and the ultimate success of either path is anything but certain. Is the future won by the aggressive dealmaker or the patient nation builder? President Trump's tariff-driven diplomacy is landing flashy short-term wins, while Prime Minister Carney is playing the long, grueling game of building economic sovereignty from the ground up. Let us know who you think placed the smarter wager in the comments below. Smash that like button and subscribe for more.